Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. Thanks for joining us. The intro music is provided by Mountain Greens, an EDM project by Kale Lantz. The song, which features Sasha Godsill on vocals, was released in 2020 on the EP Vegged Out. Lantz's debut album, Passiflow, is available on all streaming services now. You can see Lantz performing live at the Caribou Room on Saturday, July 23rd. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m.
This episode is brought to you by the Backdoor Theater, the Caribou Room, Brightwood Music, Hardt's Backhoe, and, of course, the Mountaineer newspaper. And now to the news desk.
This week's movie at the Backdoor Theater is Elvis, rated PG-13. The movie shows Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. with a Saturday matinee at 2 p.m. at the Backdoor Theater, located inside the Nederland Community Center.
Some of the current highlights in the Mountaineer include our weekly music column, the only weekly print music listing in the entire Peak to Peak region. This week also features the entire schedule for the Gilpin County Fair, 2 great Keep It Local stories, tons of police reports and government stories, and more.
Our first story of the week is Jamie Lammers interviewing local musician Kale Lantz of Mountain Greens. Off you go, Jamie.
Hello. My name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with Kale Lantz of the local music project Mountain Greens.
My name is Kale Lantz. I'm the sole member of Mountain Greens, which is a music project that I started 3-ish years ago. It's an EDM project, so I try to not stick solely to any one genre. I'm from Nederland, Colorado. I was born and raised, and I'm going to school up in Washington for neuroscience and audiology, and yeah, that's me right now.
I hear you're performing at the Caribou Room soon, is that correct?
Yeah, July 23rd. I'm playing with, I think, 5 other DJs. Yeah, it's been super fun. It's the first time EDM is coming to Netherlands, so that's pretty exciting because I think it'll be something that a lot of people will like, and I know a lot of people that like EDM in Netherlands. So,
how did Mountain Greens as a project start? Where did you get your inspiration? How did it come about? All that sort of stuff.
I mean, I didn't know what a DAW was, which is a digital audio workstation, for a long, long time. I mean, I started playing bass when I was really young in the orchestra, just playing double bass, and then moved on to bass, which kind of makes sense. Then one day I was hanging out with my friend Anders, and he got a version of Ableton, which is a digital audio workstation, and we played around with it, and I fell in love immediately. And I knew that I had to start doing this and have fun doing it, and I had no intention to make a brand at the start of everything. I just thought, oh, this will be fun to do, and then I made a few songs and got really into it, and after about a year or so, I was able to put out music for the first time. Figured I'd slap a name on it and figure it out from there, and since then I've been obsessed with trying to, I guess, further my sound and further the idea and the feel behind the project. I took a gap year after high school, and I really had a chance to explore the depths of what I want to do with music in general and the sort of feeling that I want to give people when I make it, which was cool. I was able to work on an album and finish it during that gap year. That was really exciting, and then put that out recently this year. The inspiration kind of just comes from who I am, coming from a small mountain town that loves music and full of hippies, and the idea I kind of want to bring behind a lot of my music is happiness and emotion and healing too, which is something that I want to do in the future with music healing.
Did you have any inspirations going into this project, like any musical inspirations, any musicians that particularly caught your eye before jumping into this project? What were some of your inspirations involving that?
Yeah, so I mean, I used to hate EDM, which is kind of funny considering where I'm at now because I'm obsessed with it. But a lot of my biggest inspirations are probably, at least on the electronic side, Dirt Monkey and Ganja White Knight. Those were the two biggest going into it. I have a lot more that have come across now, but those are the ones that I've tried to model my sound after for a long time. And then on the non-EDM side, I really love funk and a lot of the artists that kind of brought that genre to life and made it such a cool and important part of American culture. So obviously, Funkadelic, the group, is just amazing the way that they're able to create a holistic sound that has such a raw and original idea behind it. Herbie Hancock, too, is a big one. His sound is really just inspiring. I also listen to a lot of hip-hop, so A Tribe Called Quest has always been one of my biggest inspirations. So I tried to model my beats after a lot of their drums and melodic ideas. And then Jimi Hendrix is one of my favorite all-time artists, and his raw sound is really inspiring. So I wanted to take the whole out there, jammy, psychedelic feeling from his music and incorporate that into mine sometimes.
Is this going to be your first time performing live as Mountain Greens?
No, I've performed live plenty of times. This will be my third show this summer. It'll be my fifth time playing on a club sound system, which is exciting, but it is my first time playing in front of a lot of people from my town where I come from, which is why I'm really excited about this specific show. Because, you know, a lot of the time when I'm playing at other clubs or down below, there's a few people I know that'll come to see, and then the rest I have just random people I've never met, which is cool in its own regard to random people getting down to my music. But I'm really excited for this one because I feel like a lot of the people that come from the same place I do will understand the music I make a little more and like it a lot more, considering they know me and know the person I am and what I put into all of the music I make.
What are some of your favorite parts about being able to perform live and show your music to people and see how they receive it?
It's really just seeing people dance, because there's always a different reaction, especially with this genre of music. You know, it's all based around the drop or whatever, having a big build up and if the entire crowd's getting really excited, then having a drop come in. There's a different reaction every time for every song and every scenario, and it's really cool to see that every time, especially when it's music that I'm putting a lot of time into and trying to perfect, and seeing the different nuances of a song get reacted to is just really cool because I put intent into having a reaction at this one point, and then when I get that reaction, it's just really gratifying, honestly, and it's just cool to see a lot of people having a good time to something you make. I mean, I'm sure comedians feel the same way when they write a joke and then they get a big laugh out of it. It's kind of just putting a lot of effort into something and then having it pay off by watching people have a good time too, you know? And I mean, that's kind of the whole point of music, in my opinion, is just having a good time and putting the love into something and then watching people have a good time because of that is just unbelievably gratifying.
And is there anything in particular that you hope audiences will take away from your shows in general, or possibly just this upcoming show in particular?
Yeah, I hope they just get the flavor of who I am for my music and get a flavor of what I'm trying to do with A, my music, and B, what I want to do with my life, which is music healing. I really hope they just are happy, having a good time, and able to heal a little bit from a show. Because it's hard to pinpoint people's different, what they need for their lives, and trying to do that and healing through a show is really difficult. But I just hope that they're able to do that a little bit with the music I make and with what I'm trying to do live. And it's all about really just having a good time and getting some of the stress of life off your shoulders for a few hours and forgetting about everything that you're worried about. Just being lost in the moment, you know, being present. That's kind of what I want people to gain from my shows, I guess.
Is there anything else in general that you would like to add about the show or Mountain Greens as a music project, or just anything along those lines?
Not really. I've got a few EPs that I'm working on that should come out pretty soon. So if you're reading this, keep an eye out for those. And it'd be cool if people could go check out my album too that I put out recently. It's called Passive Flow. I put a lot of love into it, so it's awesome when I get feedback for it or hear people are listening to it. It means a lot to me. And I don't know, I just keep on getting after it, everyone that's reading this. And yeah, thank you guys for supporting me.
I think those are all the big questions that I have on my end.
Sweet. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on board. This was awesome.
Yeah, of course, man.
Thank you so much to Kale for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to see him live, you can catch Mountain Greens performing with Subculture, Killanilla, and Yell G Nats in the show Zubnotic Presents Bass Mountain at the Caribou Room, 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland on Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. Doors open at 7 p.m. with an available dinner, and the show starts at 8 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. Now to the news desk. The Mountaineer will host a candidate forum on Tuesday, August 9th at 5 p.m. at the Nederland Community Library. The election is Tuesday, August 23rd. Keep an eye on the Mountaineer in print and online for important election information.
Summer is here, and Brightwood Music in Nederland has travel instruments to take with you on your journey. From travel guitars to ukuleles, mandolins to harmonicas, and more, Brightwood has what you need for the aspiring musician or the advanced performer. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Nederland staple for all of your music needs since 2009. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863. Check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music.
Peak-to-peak musicians and artists, the Mountain Ear is looking for you. We're looking for our August and September featured musicians. Would you like a feature story in the Mountain Ear print, online, and podcast edition? These are all completed through email, phone calls, or occasional in-person interviews with our journalists. Interested? Check out our contact information at the end of the podcast.
We are so excited that mail delivery has been getting better each week, but hey, outside Nederland, we know it's still taking a few extra days to get your newspaper in the mail. The Mountaineer has an easy solution to make sure your paper is always on time. Try it online for free. Every print subscriber is able to get free access to our online edition. Simply go to the website, click on subscribe, and click on 100-day free subscription. If you love it, we can continue it for the term of your subscription. If you hate it, simply don't log in and it will expire in 100 days.
This weekend is also the Nederland Farmers Market. The Farmers Market is much more than fresh produce, food trucks, live music, and coffee. It's a chance to see everyone in town on a sunny summer day. Nederland Farmers Market runs every other Sunday and is located at 80 East 1st Street in Nederland.
Hey, friends and neighbors, this weekend is the 29th annual Gilpin County Fair. The fair starts Friday with a volleyball tournament from 4 to 7 p.m. and a bonfire in the Allen Memorial Arena from 5 to 7 p.m. Saturday, the fair runs from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. with events all day, including opening ceremonies at 12:30, Bulls and Bronx at 2, and a dance party from 5 to 7 p.m. Don't forget food, vendors, smiles, and good times. Sunday, the fair wraps up from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and includes the annual High Country Auxiliary Pancake Breakfast, tons of 4-H shows, a free pet microchipping event, and finally, a dog talent show. Don't forget to get on out to the fair for some hometown good times.
For our next story, Art speaks to a local woodworker that moved from New Hampshire to Nederland almost a decade ago, continuing his fine craft of furniture and more in the process. Take it away, Art.
I'm Art DeVitalis, and this is my interview with Loran Smith about his woodworking business based out of Nederland.
My name is Loran Smith. I'm a furniture maker, designer, originally from New Hampshire, but I moved to Colorado in 2013, just in time for the floods, which gave me a lot of work and opportunities to meet other craftsmen, helping clean up from that. I do a little bit of high-end house remodeling, mostly kitchens and finish work. I do custom furniture and design and architectural millwork.
All right, awesome. Yeah, and I was looking at kind of some of the stuff you had done in the past, and it sounds like you had a full-blown guild of different woodworkers in New Hampshire and were chair there with the association, I believe, as well.
Yeah, there's a great community of craftsmen in New England, and New Hampshire in particular is known for having the Guild of New Hampshire Woodworkers, which had 300 members when I began chairing it and doubled to 600 in a year and a half. And then the New Hampshire Furniture Masters Association was about 20 of us at the time of the premier furniture makers in the state. And we would make a piece every year that would be designed with a client. And then before it was delivered to the client, it would go on auction. And if it sold for more than the original price, that person got to take the piece home, and we would make a second at the original price for the original client. So they would see their work increase in value before their eyes, and we would get extra work from that and work with some interesting people on some great designs.
Wow, and that's impressive. We're doubling the number there from 300 to 600. So you've also taught like workshops on certain techniques and different skills, I think, that you've kind of put together over your years doing this.
Yes, I've taught classes at several museums in New Hampshire, the Canterbury Shaker Village Museum and Strawberry Bank Museum in Portsmouth. Also at the University of New Hampshire, I taught continuing education classes on Introduction to Furniture Making and was always happy to demonstrate for the Guild of New Hampshire Woodworkers, where people from all over the state would come to your shop and observe you doing one certain technique. We'd have our meetings and different craftsmen's shop once a month. So I was always happy to teach like that.
Definitely. And so where did your passion for this start?
Well, it's funny. I went to college for electronics engineering, which I decided I had no interest in once I graduated. And I was working for a friend who was a contractor. And because I was an avid rock climber, he would let me come and go as I wanted and take a month off with no notice to go climb and then come back and work with him. And so I learned all the process of building a house from foundation through to finish, including electrical and plumbing. So I started working with him and eventually just became a specialist in kitchen cabinet installs and then building custom kitchen cabinets. And it just kept evolving from there until I started getting into doing individual furniture pieces. And back in New Hampshire, I'd have up to a 2-year backlog of work. So that kept me pretty busy.
Definitely. Wow. That's what's crazy about the time off you were able to take, but also just that must be incredible. Literally learning it from the ground up encompasses the whole process of a house from start to finish.
That's the fun part for me is I like, envisioning a design, working it out with a client, or sometimes taking my own design and doing, a spec piece, seeing it through to finish. It's very rewarding to me.
Could you tell us maybe about one of the harder techniques to even master with furniture craftsmanship or building, kind of like an example of something that you've taught others to do?
I've taught classes in hand carving, which is pretty difficult to learn. I always say something that I was taught was you take a block of wood and you remove everything that doesn't look like the piece that you want to remain. So that makes it sound simple, but if you can envision what's inside the wood, it's easy to remove the necessary parts and sculpt something like a claw and ball foot for a piece of furniture. And similarly, a different style of early American furniture involves a lot of veneering and cutting, 16th or 32nd of an inch thick piece of wood, something the thickness of a piece of paper, and then assembling it into different designs is also very difficult to learn, but rewarding once you master that.
You moved to Netherlands in 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Well, 2014 is when we found our home and moved up to the area, but we came in 2013 and rented while we checked out different areas around Boulder. We're very fortunate to find a place up at 8,000 feet where it's a little cooler and a little more our style.
After the time that you spent in New Hampshire, why Netherlands?
I came out here in between my second and third year of college to stay with a friend and rock climb all summer. And I just fell in love with the Boulder area. So I always swore that I would move out here. And then once I had kids, my wife and I decided we'd wait till they graduated from high school and then college. And then as soon as my youngest was done with college, within a week, we were packed up and on our way cross country.
Wow. So you were definitely ready for it at that point.
I was. But we're enjoying our time out here now that, a lot more of the country is accessible.
So do you still get out? Are you still rock climbing?
I do get out rock climbing a couple times a year. I also try and fit in a good backpack every year and just recently finished the rim to rim hike in the Grand Canyon. So I like to get out and push myself still.
I know that you mentioned that you were working on some projects after the Marshall Fire, which I think was the most destructive fire in terms of structures in Colorado history. But what are you working on now with that?
I work quite a bit with a general contractor who handles all the paperwork and lets me just handle all the craftsmanship. And he's got a project near where the fire started in Marshall, a historic rebuild. And that's kind of a specialty of mine because I'm used to working in New Hampshire on houses dating as early as the late 1600s. I have a lot of special skills when it comes to lath and plaster and, older style house construction. So we're going to be replacing one of those historic houses in Marshall.
Awesome. Well, and it's from the sounds of it, keeping true to what it was as well.
As close as we can, yes. That's the idea.
But for those with projects who are interested kind of down the road, how can people get a hold of you?
Probably easiest is my email, which I do check every day, and cell service and others. Texting is not always reliable, but I can be reached at smith.loran, Loran, @gmail.
All right, awesome.
I do have people from Washington, D.C. to New England and out to California who I've delivered to, and I enjoy working with each and every one of them. So I particularly love working up here in Maryland and meeting the local craftspeople and suppliers, and we're just really happy to be here.
There was one of your pieces I was looking around online that it was featured on some website somewhere, but it had said in the caption of the photograph it was a sideboard. I think that you had ended up selling to a senator in New Hampshire.
Yes, two of my clients were previous governors of New Hampshire. One of them went on to be a White House chief of staff, and the other went on to be a U.S. senator. So I thought they were wonderful people, both of them, and political leanings aside, I would have voted for them at any point because they were just both wonderful and good people.
For the Mountaineer Podcast, I'm Art DeVitalis. Thanks, Loran.
Thanks, Art. The Gilpin County Democrats hold monthly meetings in person on the fourth Thursday of each month at the Gilpin County Library from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Contact Gilpin Dems Chair at gmail.com with questions.
The Gilpin County Republican meetings are on the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Gilpin County Library. You can contact them at gcrcgilpin@gmail.com.
Are you interested in being a podcast sponsor? We have sponsorships available starting at $30 per week or sponsor a whole month for just $99. The podcast reaches a different audience than the print or online edition of The Mountaineer. Don't forget to pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in print in multiple locations across the Peak to Peak for the latest news. Print copies are available from Allens Park to Central City and Blackhawk, with all of the communities and canyons in between.
On Saturday, Kaleidoscope Fine Arts Gallery is hosting the Mountain Paws Pet Care Fund Benefit. The event includes wine and appetizers, a silent auction, and a special homemade pet treats. It starts at 4 p.m. Saturday at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 210, which is upstairs in the Caribou Village Shopping Center.
And for our final story today, we talked to Karen Seifert. We caught up on how the last couple of years have treated Canyon Cares, a nonprofit organization focused on outreach and helping area residents in their time of need. Here's Art.
Hello, this is Art DeVitalis, and here's my interview with Karen Seifert of Canyon Cares.
I am Karen Seifert, and I am with Canyon Cares, and I'm currently serving as the president. I've been a member of Canyon Cares since 2014.
Just to start off, could you tell us about the history and mission of Canyon Cares?
Yes. Canyon Cares was started in 2006 by Lorraine Ravel, who was a Coal Creek Canyon resident and realtor, and she was trying to do something to give back to the community. So she came up with this idea of Canyon Cares, and what we do, or what our mission is at this point, is to provide, we call it short-term financial assistance to help with necessities and urgent needs. And basically what that means is that we can help pay emergency bills. So if someone has, say, a utility bill and their power's about ready to be cut off, we can help with that payment. If someone has a car repair that they may be able to pay for part of but can't quite come up with the rest of the payment, we can help with that. We actually cover transportation, utility payments, housing, a little bit geared towards medical, food, and then other miscellaneous items. We have an all-volunteer board, and we are here to help people who have emergency needs that maybe We're not really geared to helping in a longer term like some of the county social services or human services organizations or departments, but we can help on an emergency basis.
Well, I would assume Coal Creek Canyon is kind of in the service area, but where all do you provide assistance to? At what locations?
When Canyon Care started in 2006, it just covered Coal Creek Canyon, which, of course, actually incorporates 3 different counties, Jeffco, Boulder, and Gilpin, which is kind of interesting because most organizations don't cross county lines. And then in 2014, after the 2013 flood, Canyon Cares extended their service area to include unincorporated Gilpin County, Nederland, up to western Boulder County, including Nederland. And then last year, or actually it was 2020 during COVID, we extended our service area to all the way up to Ward, and previously we hadn't included the towns of Central City and Blackhawk, and so now we have included those also. So at this point we cover all of Gilpin County. We cover Boulder County up to Ward, western Boulder County, and then Jeffco, that's kind of in and out of Coal Creek Canyon, Golden Gate Canyon, a few other locations there. So
awesome.
That's our service area at this point.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to add to the type of assistance covered? And with that, what you've done in the last couple of years?
We can cover rent payments. We also have covered mortgage payments, not as many as the rent payments, obviously. We've helped people with property taxes. We kind of group that all under our housing section. And one thing that's come up a lot lately are car repairs, but we categorize that under transportation. We also can help with registration, car insurance, other things that are related with trying to get to work every day and needing to have a car when you live in the mountains. We also help with a lot of snow tires. So between the housing and the car repair, that's about 60% of what we paid out in 2021. And in 2021, we actually, our total for assistance was a little over $108,000 given out that year.
That's not small at all.
Yeah. And that was actually up, obviously, with COVID. In 2020, we gave out over $79,000, which was up from $35,000 in 2019. So we had a big jump due to COVID.
So how did that break down by location?
In 2021, we gave out about $48,000 in Boulder County and about $36,000 in Gilpin, and the rest of it was Jeffco. And we're about probably 50% to 60% of what we give out is Boulder County, just because it's a more populated area, because that does include the more densely populated area of Nederland. A little over half goes to Boulder County.
All right, yeah, and I was going to say, otherwise that's a pretty even split there.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to ask about the holiday gift card program. I'm not sure totally what that entails, but please explain.
Well, what we had done up until 2020, and we changed our holiday program because of COVID. Before, we had always done a food drive. Kids from Coal Creek Elementary School would have competitive food drives. We put baskets over in a lot of the businesses throughout Ned and Coal Creek. And so we got a lot of donations of food that then we would spend days sorting through to get rid of stuff that was expired. So anyway, the way that we changed it for COVID, because that was not feasible anymore, we now get grocery store gift cards, and distribute those in a small decorative bag with, a few small items in it. The way that we determine who gets a holiday bag is we call all the people that we've helped during the year and ask them if they would like to participate in the program. It worked out so well for us that even post-COVID, we've decided that we're going to continue that program rather than trying to do the food drive. And I think people prefer it because it gives them a lot more choice about what they can buy, and it's just worked out well all the way around. So one thing that we're doing this year, and we won't start for a couple months, but we're going to do a donation drive specifically geared towards funding those gift cards. That's going to be our major holiday donation drive at this point.
Awesome. All right. Of course, I did want to ask how individuals, families, or anyone else in the Tri-County area there can get assistance and apply for help from Canyon Cares.
Well, and the easiest thing to do, because we're all volunteer, we don't really have a specific office. We meet monthly in Coal Creek Canyon at one of the churches there. And the easiest way to apply is either to call the Canyon Cares. It's essentially just voicemail. That number is 720-515-1129. Or the other thing that's fairly easy to do is just go to the Canyon Cares website, and you can fill out the form there, and one of the Canyon Cares volunteers will be assigned to you and will give you a call. So we've tried to make it as simple as we can. Everything can be done, or anyone can contact us through our website.
All right, awesome. Well, that's great. Other than that, I kind of wanted to ask the partner agencies and those that you work with in this process and individual projects helping people.
Right, and because we are just short-term emergency assistance, we often refer people to other agencies, and other agencies often refer their clients to us. So in Boulder County, we work very closely with the Emergency Family Assistance Association, EFA, and now that they have a mountain liaison who specifically works in western Boulder County, then we also work fairly closely with the Boulder County Area Agency on Aging to help seniors who need a little more or more care than we can do with our emergency help. And then in Gilpin County, we work quite a bit with the Gilpin County Department of Human Services. And again, we refer a lot of people to them for help in setting up longer-term things like LEAP for energy assistance or SNAP for food assistance. They have access to a lot more longer-term programs and a lot more knowledge about what is actually available out there, because for most of us, in fact, at this point, with our current board, for all of us at Canyon Cares, we're not professionals in the social services area. Most of us are working at things that are pretty much unrelated to social services. It helps to be able to contact professionals.
So that brings us to how Canyon Cares is funded, or I think the three different ways that it's funded.
Yes, primarily we're funded through donations, smaller donations from a lot of area residents. So that's kind of traditionally been our biggest source for our income. And we're a 501c3, so we're a registered nonprofit. All donations are tax deductible. Since COVID started, we've actually applied for and received some state grants, some county grants, things that in the past we hadn't done, but once we started giving out a lot more assistance or taking a lot more applications, we needed a broader funding base. And we are also a partner organization with the United Power Roundup Foundation, and they actually give us a quarterly grant that can be used to help people in the United Power service area. So that's been wonderful for us to have that partnership with them. Then we also have received several larger scale private grants and donations, and those, they don't happen all that often, but when they do, it's amazing. So that's kind of our major funding sources at this point.
So those that are interested in contributing, how can they get in touch or do so?
The easiest way is to go through our website, canyoncares.org. We have it set up with the donation buttons, and it's pretty easy to do. We also have, through Amazon Smile and King Soopers, those means of donating. When you make purchases, a small percentage goes to Canyon Cares, and you can also sign up for that through our website.
Why is this important to, like, you and the volunteers personally, the rest of the board?
Well, I think everyone on the board was looking for a way. Everyone wanted to volunteer or wanted to be involved with volunteer organization, but also to feel like their time was being well spent, I think. And there is so much need here that maybe is not seen quite as much these days, but it's definitely here. And so I think part of it is being able to work kind of one-on-one, because each board member is assigned an applicant. So it's kind of that level of personal interaction as well as seeing everything that's going on in the community. I actually joined Canyon Cares when I was, and I still am, on the board of the Ned Food Pantry. And so when Canyon Cares expanded their service into Nederland, the Food Pantry board asked for someone to be a representative for Ned, and so that's what I did. That's how I ended up joining. And a lot of the board members now are residents of Coal Creek Canyon, but we also have members from unincorporated Gilpin County, Boulder County, so it's a pretty good mix of people.
All right. And other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything we didn't really touch on, but is there anything that you think we missed?
The one thing that I think is our process is set up so that when someone calls or leaves an email, that they get assigned to a board member, and our application process is pretty simple compared to, some of the other social services organizations. So it's pretty much kind of a 10-minute phone interview assessing needs, and then it's put to, the application is written up, and we put it on Slack so that all the board members can vote on it. And then if it's approved, we immediately can make arrangements to make payments. And we do only pay vendors. We'll pay the landlord directly or the car repair mechanic directly. So we aren't actually giving money to individuals. And we think that's important because, we have a lot of donors in the community, and, they want to see it being used for what we're saying it's being used for.
Thanks, Karen, for what you and the board does to make people's lives easier in our area in their time of need.
Thanks, Art, for the story of how Canyon Cares reaches far beyond Coal Creek.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast, print newspaper, and the latest news are always available on our website at www.themountaineer.com. To contact the Mountaineer, email info@themountaineer.com or call 303-810-5409.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.